I'm guessing many of you are pretty suspicious about working from home. I used to work, when I worked in London, I worked at McKinsey in the Treasury, which is the finance ministry, and my friends would tease me all the time about working from home. They would say, working from home is shirking from home, or working remotely working. They were not very kind to me about working from home. They claimed I watched those old black and white movies all day and actually did nothing at all. If you've traveled on the subway, you've probably seen these sketchy adverts that say things like, work from home, earn thousands of dollars monthly, which strikes me as, A, an implausibly large amount of money, and B, way too many exclamation marks, even for someone that's done middle school English. To take in another direction, if you listen to music or you follow the charts, you may know this song. It's "Work from Home" by Fifth Harmony. You can probably figure it's not a very good representation of the positivity of working from home. This was about the cleanest cut photo I could get from the album. They have the most amount of clothes on in this picture compared to anything else. To tell you how bad it is, the chorus line is "Ain't nothing but sheets between us. Let my body do the work. You're the boss at home." Which tells you this is really not about work. It's something else that's going on. So this is also very negative about working from home. Online, it's similar. So if you go to Google or to Bing and you punch in "working from home" into image search, what do you get? Well, you get something that looks like this. A lot of pictures of basically naked people, cartoons, people juggling way too many babies to actually be doing anything constructive. The reason I show you Bing is Bing nicely shows you multiple other searches, which are common searches that go with this. And you can see other common searches are working from home funny, working from home comics, and my favorite is working from home underwear that apparently people are regularly searching from all the time. So, maybe you can push it up to top if you'll go out and search on it now. It's not just online, the media. So I talk to journalists quite a lot, and journalists most of the time are actually working from home. Despite that, they were very suspicious about working from home when the big storm erupted after that leaked memo from Yahoo in 2013. So, if you cast your mind back, you may remember Marissa Mayer's the CEO of Yahoo, and back in 2013 on a quiet Sunday, some memo gets leaked out claiming they're going to ban working from home at the firm. Now, Marissa Mayer probably never could have guessed that in her long time at Yahoo, going through her start, her time there, all the ups and downs, and eventually exiting, this would be the event that generated the most press coverage for her. And, the press went wild. For the next 2 weeks, there was masses of coverage on print media, on radio media, on TV media. And you can see here, I put up some examples from The Economist, from the Wall Street Journal, from the New York Times, from Bloomberg. All of it was debating very heavily about the pros and cons of working from home. On the one hand, there were people saying, they're loafing off, they're not doing anything, they're watching TV in their underwear. To the other side, saying, this is the workplace of the future, it's a more productive way to operate. I should actually end saying, probably the example of why working at home is potentially seen as so bad is a friend of mine told me a great anecdote, which is, she said her 12-year-old daughter went out shopping with some friends. And her 12-year-old daughter came back and she'd bought a baseball cap. And on the baseball cap, it said, "working from home." Her mum said to her, "You are not wearing that baseball cap out of the house," as if it was like a T-shirt that said, "Hey, big boy, I'm easy," or something. So, tells you how low the working from home has sunk as a concept. But I'd say I work from home a lot. I'm very positive about working from home, and I actually think it has enormous potential, as much potential as, say, something like the driverless car. Let me explain why. So, the average American spends about 45 minutes a day commuting into work, about another 45 minutes a day commuting back from work. Almost all of that's done by car. There are about 150 million working Americans. There's probably about another 500 million people working in similar situations in Europe and South America and Asia and Africa. Now, imagine if we could take just some share of those people and allow them to work from home on a daily basis, the enormous amount of time you'd save, the huge amount of money you'd save in terms of reduced car travel, and moreover, the amazing impact you'd have on reducing pollution. So I think it has tremendous potential. And then you should ask yourself, why do we focus so much on working in the office? Well, this is a tradition that's gone back a couple of hundred years to the Industrial Revolution. So, I guess many of us can blame the British for this, but before the Industrial Revolution around 1800, everyone basically worked from home. We were farmers, we were artisans, we were craftsmen, and around 1800, modern workplaces started to be formed. We started to mass in factories and offices, and the modern form of commuting to the office and back, or to the factory and back, started to be set in store. But, a lot has changed in the last 200 years. In a sense, we don't need to be like this anymore. There's modern communications, there's modern computers, there's the internet. And so one of the things I want to argue is, the way that we organize the office and the way we organize factories is something that's very backward looking, and it doesn't need to be that way anymore. It reminds me a lot, I have kids, and it reminds me a lot of these long summer holidays. So the summer holidays for 3 months is a huge challenge for parents. What on earth to do with your children for 3 months? And then you ask, why do we have these long summer holidays? And again, it's one of these throwback things that we had them because when the school day was starting to be structured a couple of 100 years ago, we'd release kids to go and harvest the fields. And I don't know about any parents here, but my kids certainly are not doing any harvesting anymore in the Bay or in the summer. So I want to argue working from home is a future-looking technology. I think it has enormous potential. Now, that's my claim. What I'm going to talk about for the rest of today is some evidence to support that. I wanted to collect evidence that was scientific. My father's actually a scientist. He does lots of drugs testing. I talked to him a lot about that. If anyone here is in the pharmaceutical industry or works with the Federal Drug Administration, you know that to prove something like a medical device, you have to separate out into a large pool of subjects, randomly pick some treatment, randomly pick some control, allow them to, one take the drug, one not, and follow them forward for months on end. So I wanted to do something very much like that from working from home, to scientifically test it. I was fortunate enough that I found a company that would do that with me. It's called Ctrip. They are China's largest travel agency. They have about 20,000 employees. They're worth about $20 billion on NASDAQ. Here is a picture of their headquarters in Shanghai. They look like any kind of modern office. They're very Dilbert-esque, lots of desks and cubicles and thousands of people working, taking calls, typing away at computers, dealing with customer complaints, coming up with new products, managing their team. Now, why were they interested in working from home? Well, they're interested in working from home because Shanghai is a phenomenally expensive place to run a business. It has incredibly expensive property prices, and they were growing rapidly, and their aim was to try and grow, but without increasing their office space. Now, it's probably a similar thought for many people here that operate in the Bay Area or in New York or in Chicago or London or Paris, or Toronto or Tokyo or Johannesburg, wherever you are around the world. Office space is becoming very expensive in big cities. So this is what motivated them to start down this road. So rather than just roll the whole thing out, they thought they'd run, working with us at Stanford, a big working from home experiment. So they got a large number of volunteers from 2 divisions that wanted to work from home. And they set it up as a randomized controlled trial. So in a very Chinese style, James Liang, who's the CEO, who's pictured here, drew a ping pong ball out of an urn. The urn said even, which meant everyone that had an even birthday, so if you were born on the 2nd, the 4th, the 6th, the 8th, the 10th of the month, you got to go and work at home for the next 9 months. If you had an odd birthday, so like myself, you're the 1st, the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, the 9th, etc. the month, you stayed in the office for the next 9 months. And in fact, we tracked these 2 groups for about 2 years. So this was to try and set up as scientifically as we could. Now, what did we find? Before we go to the results, I should point out, here are the people working from home. It's not clear. It's not clear if you look at these guys exactly what's going to happen. The person in the bottom right, doesn't look exactly very enthusiastic to me. So I was somewhat nervous. So were they about some of these characters. In the top right is a picture to show the downside of working from home. That's her bed in the photo. So she has about a 4-foot commute. Which is great and very efficient. On the other hand, I personally, I don't know, I really wouldn't want to spend, 21, 22 hours a day in the same room day in, day out. So, it's certainly not for everyone. And to point out, just to get the experiment clear, they're typically working in teams of 10 to 15 people, and they all have the same manager. So here's a team manager. She's running her team. Some of them have been randomly sent home. Some of them are randomly still left in the office, but they're all working under the same manager. Those at home come in 1 day a week, so they may all come in on Wednesday. So they're at home Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. The whole team's at home whole team's in the office on Wednesday. And she can monitor them. She can see what's going on. They're all working the same shift. So the only thing that's really changing is where they're working. So what do we find? Well, before I show you the results, I want to, prepare you by saying, remember what motivated it. What motivated it is Ctrip's desperate to save money because they're paying an enormous amount to house all these people in Shanghai. Their view was they'd save a lot of money on getting rid of rent. They'd probably take a bit of a hit on people going home and basically goofing off. I remember one of them saying they're worrying about them watching, the Chinese equivalent of Jerry Springer or playing computer games. So they're kind of mildly pessimistic, but they wanted to see what happened. So what do we find? Well, we found massive improvement performances. So a 13% improvement in performance from people working at home, which is huge. That's almost 1 day a week. So how on earth did this happen? Where did this come from? Well, it came from two things. One is people working from home really work their full shift. So if in the office you're supposed to be there 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, but they'll often come in late because the motorbike broke down, or they have a long lunch break because they go and have a drink or two, they'll leave early to let the cable repair guy in. Whatever it is, they were definitely not working all of the 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, whereas people at home were much better at keeping time. The second fact was it's far easier to concentrate at home. For all of you that's worked from home, the office is actually an amazingly noisy environment. So we'd hear stories of, the person on the desk next door to me, her boyfriend's just left her, she's in tears. There's a cake in the breakout room, Bob's leaving, come join. The World Cup sweepstake is going, you've got to, whatever it is, the office is actually super distracting. So that was finding one. Finding two, quit rates dropped by 50%. So for anyone out here that's a manager, you know the nightmare of endlessly advertising, interviewing, recruiting, training, getting up to speed employees only to see them leave again. Now, Ctrip's quit rate is about 50% a year, which turns out to be about the average for the whole US. So this, again, is an enormous impact. Basically, employees are voting with their feet. They love working from home. Not only do the employees benefit, but the managers benefit because they can spend less of their time painfully advertising, recruiting, training, promoting, exiting again, and spend it more on work. Finally, at the end of the experiment, it was so successful, Ctrip rolled it out to the whole company. And they let everyone change their mind. So some people actually gave up working from home. There's the old saying that the three great enemies of working from home are the fridge, the television, and the bed. And so some people, got overcome by one or many of those three. And they, they rightfully said, look, I can't take it anymore, I'm coming back into the office. Other people changed their mind. What you saw after the end of it is performance goes up by 24% because basically only the people that are left, or only the people that work from home, are the people that can concentrate. So choice in combination of working from home is just hugely impactful. And it doesn't need to be 4 days a week. It can be 1 day a week if you want, but certainly some combination of a bit of working from home and a bit of choice is incredibly impactful. So what about Ctrip? They reckon they made about $2,000 more profit per person at home. They were super positive. They rolled it out to the whole firm. So I want to end by saying I want to kill the cartoon stereotype of working from home. I go with The Simpsons. I love Homer Simpson. He's close to my heart in some ways. I love this cartoon because Homer Simpson's too lazy to actually put on his own, to get dressed. He's wearing his pajamas. Or it looks like actually Marge's nightgown. It's hard to tell. And B, he's too lazy to even get up to touch the computer. He's pushing it with a broom. But I want to kill the stereotype of working from home and say, look, there are massive benefits. For employees, they're much more productive and they're happier. For managers, you don't have to spend so much of your time recruiting and training people all the time. For firms, you make far more profit. In Ctrip's case, they made $2,000 extra per person from saved rents and greater productivity. And for society, there's a huge saving of reducing congestion, reducing driving times, and ultimately reducing pollution. So, think very seriously. I implore you to think very seriously about working from home. Even if you try it just 1 day a week, give it a try. There's not much to lose and there's a lot to gain. Thank you.